morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanama. Let's begin with the top stories so far. Dr. Govinda Kesi forcefully flown from Jumla to Kathmandu in an army chopper. Police resort to battle charging and firing tear gas shells, leaving over a dozen of Dr. Kesi's supporters injured. Huge difference seen between government's data and inflating market prices. Market sees up to 28% price hike in the past 2 months alone. US President Donald Trump disagrees to Putin's proposal of allowing Russia to question US citizens in return for access to 12 Russians indicted by the US. And national cricket team leaves for England to feature in its first one-day international series, and a triangular T20 series scheduled to be held at Lord's. Let's begin with the latest national political updates. The government has flown Dr. Govinda Kesi to Kathmandu using force on the 20th day of his hunger strike. The Nepal army brought the fast-on-to-death doctor in a chopper yesterday to the capital's Tundikhel, from where he was taken to Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital in Maharajganj. The army chopper carrying Dr. Kesi landed at the capital's Tundikhel ground around 6:45 p.m. yesterday amid tight security. Dr. Kesi was taken to Teaching Hospital, where he has continued with his hunger strike but is under medication. Meanwhile, the supporters of Dr. Govinda Kesi clashed with security forces a number of times as Jumla remained tense throughout the day yesterday. Doctors, students and the locals protested against the forceful measures taken by the government to bring Dr. Kesi to the capital. The police force resorted to battle charging and firing tear gas shells, which left over a dozen of Dr. Kesi's supporters injured. Our Jumla correspondent LP Debkota reported that Dr. Kesi agreed to leave Jumla after his supporters started getting injured in the clashes. Local women had blocked the way when Dr. Kesi was taken out of the hospital amid tight security. The police had also misbehaved with media men who had reached the hospital premises to cover the incident. The National Human Rights Commission issued a press release stating that its attention was drawn towards the incident of use of force inside a hospital. The National Human Rights Commission has condemned the brutal use of force and clashes inside the hospital, leading to the damage of some hospital equipment. The Home Ministry also issued a press release calling for restraints from all quarters. And moving on, lawmakers of the ruling party have suggested moving ahead with the medical education bill through consensus. They said that demands of protesting Dr. Kesi should be addressed through dialogue. A new bill regarding medical education remains to be endorsed at the parliament as the ruling party and the opposition are firm in their respective stance. Lawmakers of the ruling party now appear in favour of dialogue as the trend of the ruling party trying to proceed with the bill and the opposition Nepali Congress obstructing the House proceedings has continued for 2 weeks while Dr. Govinda Kesi continues with his hunger strike. They have added that protesting Dr. Kesi should also quit his stand and make it to the dialogue table with legitimate demands. This is the 15th time Dr. Kesi has staged his hunger strike with demands of improvement in national medical education and health services, while Nepali Congress has been obstructing parliamentary proceedings, voicing for addressing all of Dr. Kesi's demands. Health workers and practitioners have shown their support for Dr. Kesi by suspending hospital services. Now, despite the formation of a dialogue team by the government, it is yet to hold discussions centered on the major agenda. The Nepal Rashtra Bank has informed that the price of food products has increased by 3% only, although the central financial monopoly had claimed of 4.1% inflation in the 11 months of the previous fiscal year. However, there exists a huge difference between the government data and the inflating market price. The price of edible oil was 120 rupees per litre a month ago, which has now reached 133 rupees. Likewise, black lentil is now priced at 120 rupees per kilogram. Ordinary rice, which was available at 55 rupees per kilogram a month ago, is now priced at 60 rupees. These are a few examples of food products that saw an increment of more than 10% in less than a month's time. The price of daily consumable goods has not increased by just 3–4% a year, as claimed by the Nepal Rashtra Bank. A study conducted by the Forum for Protection of Consumer Rights Nepal shows that the market price has increased by 16 to 28% in the past 2 months. Consumer rights officials have claimed that such increase in price is a consequence of the nexus between the Ministry of Commerce and Supplies and the traders. Demands exceeding production, issues in supply management, increase in transportation cost or increase in government tax lead to normal increase in price. However, none of these reasons are the cause of the current increase in market price. Instead, it's due to the lack of market monitoring and dominant middlemen. Government monitoring remains to take place despite arbitrary increase in market price. The superficial central bank data has further fueled the situation. The question posed by the situation is if the study mechanism of Nepal Rashtra Bank requires amendment, as it has failed to reflect the actual scenario. Now, moving on, at a time when internet is becoming cheaper in the international market, internet service providers are yet to reduce the price in Nepal. Instead, the service providers have added the financial burden on the consumers, citing the government-imposed tax. The consumers who had previously been paying 1,130 rupees per Mbps inclusive of 13% value-added tax or VAT have now to suffer the additional burden of 147 rupees. Despite the increment of 13% communications charge, the burden on the consumers has increased by 14.5%. However, the government has claimed that the service providers cannot increase the burden on the consumers because of the increase in tax. At a time when the price of bandwidth is decreasing in the international market, a sharp contrast is witnessed in Nepal with increasing fees. Consumers are compelled to bear the brunt as the government has remained quiet towards the arbitrary rates set by the internet service providers. The government is yet to monitor the quality and price of internet provided by the service providers. According to government's Broadband Policy 2015, internet service was to be made available at 5% of the per capita income by 2018. This amounts to 5,000 rupees per year. However, consumers are paying more than 15,000 rupees per every year. This means that the government is as responsible as the service providers for low quality and expensive internet in the country. And it's now time for the international update. US President Donald Trump has invited Russian leader Vladimir Putin to visit the US in autumn. Trump's press secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted that discussions for the visit were already underway. Earlier, Trump rejected a proposal by Putin that Russia be allowed to question US citizens. The two leaders held a summit in Finland on Monday, but a few details of what they discussed have emerged so far. There has been no word from Russia about a second Trump-Putin meeting. Controversy has raised over the Helsinki summit, with Trump having to correct his own words from the press conference which followed it. The US president disagrees with a proposal made by Putin that Russia be allowed to question US citizens in return for access to 12 Russians indicted by the US over alleged hacking and election interference. The White House had earlier said it would consider the proposal, which Trump called a tremendous gesture. The idea of allowing a foreign power to quiz US citizens sparked outrage, and the US Senate voted 90-0 against it. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said it was not going to happen. Putin said Russia wanted to question US nationals the Kremlin accuses of illegal actions. And more international news, Israel passed a law yesterday to declare that only Jews have the right of self-determination in the country, something members of the Arab minority call racist and verging on apartheid. The nation-state law, backed by the right-wing government, passed a vote of 60 to 55 and 2 abstentions in the 120-member parliament after months of political argument. Some Arab lawmakers shouted and ripped up papers after the vote. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Knesset after the vote that it was a defining moment in the annals of Zionism and the history of State of Israel. Now, largely symbolic, the law was enacted just after 70th anniversary of the birth of the State of Israel. It stipulates that Israel is the historic homeland of the Jewish people and they have an exclusive right to national self-determination in it. The bill also strips Arabic of its designation as an official language alongside Hebrew, downgrading it to a special status that enables its continued use within Israeli institutions. Israel's Arabs number some 1.8 million, about 20% of the 9 million population. The local level governments are adding burden to the public by imposing additional taxes. In many places, the local governments are crossing their jurisdiction to increase taxes. Based on the constitutional provision, the local governments have a few rights to impose tax. Using the same right, the local governments are imposing taxes under new headings, while they are also increasing taxes under the existing titles in an arbitrary manner. The existing taxes and fees have been found increased by up to 10-fold. The Birgunj metropolis has gone beyond its jurisdiction by increasing the price of petrol by 25 paisa per litre. The Birgunj mayor has said that the metropolis has decided to tax freight goods as it is the major port for international trade. Even as the right of imposing taxes rests with the state, taxes should be set considering the affording capacity of the taxpayers as well. However, competition is rampant in imposing exorbitant fees in basic services, including the likes of birth registration, death registration and citizenship certificate, among others. Traders staged a protest after Changunaram municipality of Bhaktapur started collecting repeated taxes on water jars. The public have further been disappointed as the local governments have prioritized revenue collection by setting aside development works. Despite internal sources, the local governments are also provided with aid by the central government. Likewise, they also receive a certain share from the revenue collected by the central government. Meanwhile, funds dispatched for the local levels last year remain to be spent. Likewise, taxes and fees under the Revenue Department are yet to be collected efficiently. The trend so far set by the local governments is likely to lead to negative publicity of federalism. Now, yesterday we had asked the residents of Kathmandu regarding how they think should Dr. Govinda Kesi's demands be addressed. In our Public's Voice segment, let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
सरकारले चाहिँ यसमा ध्यान दिनुपर्छ हैन उहाँले जे मागहरु उठाउनु भएको छ यसमा सरकारले अब गहन अध्ययन गरेर के ठीक छ के छैन त्यो हेरेर अनि त्यसपछि ठीक कुरालाई चाहिँ सम्बोधन गरिहाल्नुपर्छ
उहाँले चाहिँ गरिब जनताको लागि लड्नु भएको छ भोलि गएर उहाँको गरिब जनताहरुको लागि के होस् भनेर लड्नुहुन्छ आफ्नो लागि लड्नु भएको हैन त्यसो हुँदाखेरि सरकारले गरिब जनताको पक्षमा लड्छ भन्ने भनिपार सरकारले ध्यान दिन चाहन्छ भनिपार उहाँको माग चाहिँ सम्बोधन गर्नुपर्छ
जायज माग छ उनको माग चाहिँ तत्काल सरकारले पूरा गर्नुपर्छ
जनतालाई पनि मर्का नपर्ने र हैन अनि स्वास्थ्यका कामहरुलाई पनि अगाडि बढ्ने गरेर सरकारले यो वार्ता छिटो टुंग्याउनु पर्छ
खै सरकारले बोलेको अनुसारले सुन्नु पर्ने हो अब हामीले बोले अनुसार जनताहरुले त बोल्छन् जनताले भन्छन् उहाँको माग पूरा होस् भनेर तर केही कसरी सुन्दैनन् कि
उहाँको कुरालाई चाहिँ सुनिदिनु पर्यो सरकारले
केसी अनसन बस्नु भएको छ जनताकै लागि भनेर हैन उचित मागहरु सरकारले दिन सक्ने जति तुरुन्त दिनु पर्यो नसक्ने जति यो कारणले सकिदैन भनेर अनसन तोडाउनु पर्यो
जनताको लागि नै गरिरहनु भएको छ गोविन्द केसीले उहाँको चाहिँ सबै कुरालाई चाहिँ बुझेर छिटो छरितो कसरी हुन्छ अब उहाँले पनि अनसन मात्रै बसेर हुँदैन सही ठाउँमा टेबलमा आएर चाहिँ वार्ता गर्नुहोस् उहाँले पनि
It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And your question is, why has the government raised taxes without improving the service quality? Your options are A, to compensate the expenses, B, weak tax policy, and C, lack of revenue alternatives. The voting for that question is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Nepal's national cricket team left for England yesterday to feature in its first one-day international series and the triangular T20 series scheduled to be held at Lord's. The tour is special for Nepal and Nepalese cricketers as Team Nepal is all set to debut in the one-day internationals with matches against the Netherlands under the tour. Sakti Gauchan remembers how the team has made the journey by having meals by sitting on the floor to staying at five-star hotels. It was the remark Gauchan made before announcing his retirement from the sport on Wednesday. Sakti Gauchan, who has witnessed Nepal's progress through various stages to qualifying for the ODI status, along with the players, are all upbeat about the tour. Nepal's dream of playing one-day internationals is going to be fulfilled through this tour.
I think the bigger thing is the ODI. हामी सबैको सपना थियो जसले पनि नेपाल क्रिकेटलाई फलो गर्नु भएको छ ओभर द इयर्स सबैको एउटा चाहना थियो कि नेपाल क्रिकेट यो लेभलसम्म पुगोस् भनेर सो very happy, excited and hope we can sign it off with a victory भनौं न जितेर नै सुरुवात गर्न सक्दो प्रयास र कोसिस गर्नेछौं.
Nepal received its one-day status following the conclusion of the World Cup qualifiers held in March earlier this year. Nepal will play 2 ODI matches against the Netherlands on the 1st and the 3rd of August. Prior to that, Nepal will play T20 matches against Melbourne Cricket Club MCC and the Netherlands on the 29th of July. The International Cricket Council ICC has recognized the match against the Netherlands as an international T20. Team Nepal is scheduled to play 4 warm-up matches in England prior to the ODIs and the T20 tournament. Now, playing one-day cricket has been Nepal's aspiration for a long time now. The ambition of the team is to transform the opportunity to realize the dream with a positive result. And those are the latest headlines. Our next English bulletin will be at 11 a.m. this morning. Keep watching Kantipur TV SD for more news and entertainment. Have a great day ahead.